Okay na, nadidinig niyo ako?
Visible
Okay,
na.
sige, bye. Okay, visible and okay. So we'll start the lecture. I'll minimize the questions so that kasi utos ni Dean, this will be recorded and given as asynchronous. Okay. The lecture is head and neck and chest trauma. I'll just give you the fine details, what a student, a resident is supposed to learn about head, neck, and chest trauma. This one lang will get you through your medical years hanggang sa residency. Okay? The exam will all be from this lecture and I'll make sure the exam will be very easy. Makinig lang kayo, andito lahat yung exam. Okay? Let's start with the head trauma first. Dalawang klase ng head trauma, pwedeng blunt, sinuntok, nadapa, nabagsak, or pwede naman sinaksak na baril. So, whichever is the cause of the head trauma, this is the leading cause of mortality and functional disability worldwide. So every medical student should be able to handle such cases. So when they come to you at the ER, most of them sa ER, you will be determining the primary injury, ano yung nangyari, nabaril, nasaksak, they had a fall, hit their head somewhere. This is the actual injury that has happened. You don't have to ask so much about the history, except for the very elderly. In the very elderly people, the history is very important. For example, it is very common to have triple or sometimes 4 medications for hypertension in the elderly. It is very common now in the States to have patients experiencing fall due to the extremely low blood pressure brought about by those 3 or 4 antihypertensives. Kaya be careful about those. For the primary injury, there is nothing else you can do about it except for bleeding, which you can pack or suture. But what you can do about the case would be your secondary injury or secondary survey. This will be all the metabolic and inflammatory cascade that follows that fall. This will kill your patient in the next hours or days. So it is not as urgent, but you need to act on it. All right. So for head trauma, you will always remember the doctrine of Monroe and Kelly. The principle is that especially for adults, the cranial cavity is already rigid, it is inelastic, and the contents are just 3, the brain parenchyma, 80%, the CSF, 10%, and blood, another 10%. That is the Monroe-Kelly doctrine. And because the cranial cavity is inelastic, meaning it is rigid, calcified bone already, yung skull natin, matigas na yun. If one increases, the remaining will decrease. For example, mataas ang BP mo. Pag mataas ang BP mo, makasacrifice na yung brain parenchyma. Tataas yung blood sa loob. Tapos, on the contrary, when your brain parenchyma swells, lalo na kunyari nadapa, nauntog, tapos may nagdugo sa brain, magsuswell yon plus yung presence ng dugo. Now, the CSF flow and amount may or may not include blood also will decrease. Kaya mag-hypoxia yung brain at magde-decrease din yung flow ng CSF. For children, this is not true, especially pagka less than 2 years old. The cranial cavity is still elastic because the sutures are not yet joined. It can expand for a little amount. Up to 20% it can expand. Also, you hardly see cranial bleeding in children who fall because of the plasticity of the cranium. They will rarely bleed. Kaya minsan huhulog yung mga bata, nadadapa, nauuntog. So, not much worry about it. Okay. However, for adults with tumors, hematoma or edema from brain injury, there goes your problem. The brain parenchyma will increase and blood and CSF flow will decrease. Let me show you a picture of what I mean. This is one of my patients just 2 weeks ago there sa Healthway FEU. Naglilinis ito ng bahay and then nadulas dun sa kanilang second floor and fell arm and face first on the ground sa baba. So she suffered, ayan, doon sa ilalim ng mata, periorbital fractures, maxillary fractures, and mandibular fractures. Fortunately, there's just contusion on the brain and no hematoma inside the brain. But this is a classic example of a blunt head trauma. So in those cases, ito yung, can you see my pointer ba? Yes, I hope you can. So this is the brain, yung kulay pink. The green one is your CSF, which is 10%, and the blue one is your blood flow. Ito yung orientation. What creates the CSF would be your choroid plexuses galing sa blood, filter nung choroid plexuses sa two lateral ventricles, the third ventricle and the fourth ventricle here near the brainstem, so that it will be producing CSF. Yung CSF parang cushion yan. Kahit na matagtag yung ulo mo, you shake your head, you swing your head, you bob it, nasuntok, napalo, there is a protection. So the head is cushioned by this enormous amount of fluid. Just for your information, yung CSF na yan ay nalilinis ng ating mga vilay pagkagabi. So usually the cleaning of the CSF is at night when you sleep. It is encouraged that for medical students, you sleep on your left. There is rapid cleaning of the CSF when you lie down and turn on your left. That is a very good strategy para clear brain when you wake up. All right. So let's go to your compensation. When there is a tumor, a hematoma, or edema from the brain, of course, that pink brain will swell. And compensation is by decreasing the CSF flow and decreasing the blood flow. So yun ang mako-compromise. Up to 20% the brain can swell and still be compensated by that decrease in blood flow and decrease in CSF flow. However, if the brain swells beyond that 20% allowable, so saan pa pupunta yung CSF? The CSF will go around not only around the cranium, around the cortex and cerebrum, also around the cerebellum, and more so, ito yung pinaka-capacitance in your spinal cord. So kasama sa spinal cord. Kaya malaking area yung pwede niyang i-compensate. However, beyond that 20%, there is already decompensation. So meaning, hindi na kayang i-accommodate ng blood at saka ng CSF, yung swelling ng brain. What will happen is that it will herniate in the falx cerebri, or here near cranial nerve number 3. That is why you will see patients with an isochoria. Malaki, dilated yung isang pupil. All right. So classification as to mechanism: penetrating, gunshot wounds. Gunshot wounds, you rarely survive because yung dinaanan ng bala nag-expand. So that causes a lot of necrosis and the brain is very sensitive. For stab wounds, mind you, like the one on your left, top left, there are many survivors for cranial stab wounds. Because just like in the abdomen, the tract is as if you just sliced a portion of the brain. Yes, you may experience weakness or loss of movement or sensation in one part of your body, but the effect is very minimal. So although penetrating stab wounds to the head look gross, it spares a lot of brain function, unlike for gunshot wounds, which are mostly fatal because of that expansion. I'm sorry, at the moment, I cannot entertain questions in the chat because this has to be recorded and given to the other sections. Okay, for blunt injury naman, nakalog, ayan, yung mga dugo. Ito na yung next slide natin na pag-uusapan. How do you monitor the severity of the head injury? We still use, up to this moment, the Glasgow Coma Scale. Of course, lalabas ito sa exam kasi lumalabas naman to sa pang-araw-araw na buhay. Okay? So the best number will be GCS 15. Yun ang perfectly all right. GCS 3 is your lowest score. Yun ang common na board exam question na panglito, GCS 0 or GCS 1. No? There's no such thing. So when the student, actually student ang susulat nito, when the student writes it down, it is written as GCS 15, E4, V5, and M6. Mamememorize nyo yan, I'll teach you how. No? So babawasan lang. So you start, hindi ganun. Ganito ang start niya, laging 4. So let's start with the eye opening. In the eye opening, it's 4. So it's 4 for spontaneous, dumidilat siya ng, Mrs. Dilat, didilat siya ganon. Or it will be, kung nawala na yung hindi nag-respond, pero pag diniinan mo, usually tenga here. When you pinch on the tenga or here sa chest. When you pinch it there, ay walang response sa spontaneous. And when you pinch it there, didilat sila, responds to pressure, 3. Pagka dinidiinan mo yon, ayaw mag-respond, tapos kinurot mo yung tenga niya, kinukurot mo na this time. O kaya kinukurot mo yung chest or toe, they respond to pain, didilat sila. So that's 2. Pag lahat wala, that's a dead patient, brain dead patient. That's 1. Okay? So for spontaneous, 4. Walang spontaneous, on pressure only. Pagka on pain only, 2 yun. Pagka even sa pain, wala. So Glasgow 1, E1. Okay, to verbal response, the patient is oriented. So you start with 5. So you start with 5. Patient is oriented. Mrs., ang common tanong, ilang taon ka na? Saan kayo nakatira? Ano nangyari? So when the patient responds, that's an oriented patient, and that's Glasgow 5. Verbal response 5. V5. -1. Ayaw pong, Mrs., ano pangalan mo? Kahapon. Uy, nandito siya. So kahapon. Gloria, tapos biglang babawi. Confused si Mrs. So verbal 4. Nag-respond lang siya na, Mrs., ilang taon ka na? Ay, nasipa ako ng kabayo. Inappropriate. 3. Hindi mo naman, Mrs., ano pangalan mo? Incomprehensible. 2. Pero walang response. Mrs., no response. Not even eye-opening. That's a V1. Okay? Sa movement naman, M6, kaninang umaga naisip ko lang, nakita ko lang nagasayo yung mga apo ko. So I thought of giving you a tip for memorization. Pagka M6, so obese ko man dyan, Mrs., dilat ang mata, taas ang ulo, o dilat ang mata. Pagka nag-o-obey ng command, 6. Pagka hindi nag-o-obey ng command, kino-command mo pero ayaw mag-respond, kukurutin namin usually dito sa earlobe. Ang gagawin nun, tatabigin yung kamay. Okay, nag-respond. So that's an M5. Pagka M4, sa pain na lang siya. Move away, ganun. Ahawiin niya. Pero hindi niya nahahawiin. Mag-move away na lang siya sa pain. Pag decorticate, ganyan siya, nakaganyan. Decerebrate, nakaunat na ganun. Also, you will notice that I hope you can see me, the hands are this way, and the thumb is this way. Okay, so sasayaw tayo ng konti. Obese movement, taas ang ulo, 6. Pagka diniin dito, kahawiin, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's how I remember my EVM. So gumawa kayo ng sarili niyo. So It is considered mild if the result, yung binilang nyo, is 13 to 15. That's mild. The survival is usually 90+%. So your patient is expected to recover fully. On the opposite side, severe, yung 3 to 8, the survival rate is 1 to 3% only. So mababa ang survival pagka 3 to 8. And most of the time you just intubate and put on a ventilator, and I'll show you the treatment in a short while. Siyempre lalabas yan. I'll give you 2 questions on the Glasgow Coma Scale. All right. So ang kinakatakot ng lahat pagka nagkaroon ng trauma sa brain will be dugo. So I'll show you a picture first ng mga CT scan, and then babalikan natin to. So ito yung mga epidural. Ang 3 layer naman ng brain, yung protection ng brain, pia, arachnoid, at saka dura, pad. So yung padding ng brain, pad din yun. Pia, arachnoid, and dura. So pag nagdugo sa labas ng dura, that's called an epidural. It's an arterial bleeding. Pag nagdugo naman sa ilalim ng dura, it's a venous bleeding. Okay? Pag nagdugo sa ilalim ng arachnoid, small vessels yung makikita mo, yan yung sinasabi nila, worst headache. Sobrang nag-headache. So I'll show you why it gives you a lot of headache. And intraparenchymal bleed, may kwento ko lang. This is what happened with my mother-in-law. Nung siya nag-collapse bigla, tapos na CT scan, yung buong brain niya halos kulay puti na. So all of the cerebral parenchyma, puti na lahat. So she lost her life 3 days after that. So I'll show you some, and then we'll go back to this one. Okay, the one on your left is a lenticular or lens biconvex hematoma, nakadikit sa skull, napupush yung brain. So ito yung artery, epidural bleeding yan. Okay, this is your lenticular bleeding, that's epidural. This one, tingnan nyo, parang letter C siya, crescent, mahaba. Hindi lang isang segment, mahaba siya. Hindi siya lens-shaped. So this is a concave. So this is subdural hematoma. Ito namang nasa ilalim, nandun siya sa in-between the lobes ng brain. Nandun siya na in-between ang lobes ng brain. So these are small blood vessels. Ayan, sa basal cisterns. Saka sa fissures. Ito naman ang subarachnoid. At ito yung parenchymal bleeding, mismo doon sa lobes. Okay, parenchymal bleeding, I'll be very slow. Siyempre, estudyante pa kayo. Parenchymal bleeding, the one on your left is epidural or lenticular yung shape. Pagka letter C yung shape, crescent, subdural hematoma. And this one on your right bottom, will be subarachnoid hemorrhage. Okay, so let's go back to the previous slide. Ang typical history, ang itatanong ko naman sa inyo will be the clinical presentation plus the CT appearance. Hindi ko natatanong yung arteries involved, kasi obvious naman yun. So pagka epidural hematoma, nauntog na yun, nasuntok, napalo sa ulo, naglalakad sila, okay na okay, naglalakad, yabang pa. Pagkatapos biglang magko-collapse. You call that the lucid interval. Pag nag-rotate kayo sa orthopedics, ang daming ganyan. Lalakad, okay na okay, after, wala. Pagkatapos biglang magko-collapse. That's your epidural hematoma. Yung gradual decline, okay na okay siya ngayon, tapos mamaya pababa yung Glasgow niya. Common yan sa mga matatanda, venous bleeding, crescent shape. I had one patient when I was in FEU training pa, subdural hematoma. Ang history lang niya, nakatulog sa bus nang nakadikit na ganun sa ulo, sa gilid. Ang napapansin ng mga anak, over the several weeks after that incident, papangit ang kanyang sensorium. So on CT scan, true enough, there was a crescent-shaped subdural hematoma. So lahat yan ine-evacuate. Itong 1 and 2, ni-evacuate yan. Meaning, magagawa kami ng craniotomy, maliit na butas sa skull, tapos evacuate yung blood. So, yun ang isang magandang challenge nung kami residents. So, I had my good share of craniotomies, care of my boss, Dr. Asedillo. Pinapabayaan niya akong mag-craniotomy dati. Craniotomy will be making a hole, evacuating the hematoma. Craniectomy, which we will do later for larger bleeding, pagka ayaw mag-respond yung edema, craniectomy, we remove a piece of the skull and then leave it open. Okay? Para ma-decompress. Okay. All right, enough for that. So, ito yung sa kanina natin pinag-usapan. Yung primary injury, you cannot do anything about it. But yung secondary injury, yan yung ipe-prevent ninyo. So, how do you prevent secondary injury? Basically, it's prevention of the edema. Basically, you prevent the edema that happens with trauma or bleeding and tumors. Kaya pagka nag-CT scan, MRI ng tumors, meron siyang rim ng edema. Ganun lagi yung tatlong yan. Bleeding, hematoma, bleeding, hematoma, and for edema. So how do you manage that? So because this is trauma, basta trauma na din ninyo, including burns, ang first answer niyo will be an ABCD. Pang-exam na question yan. So lalabas yan sa inyong exam. A patient with a gunshot wound to the head came to you for management at the emergency room. Your first maneuver will be CT scan, for example. Hindi yun ang sagot. Ang sagot, letter A. Airway. Check nyo muna yung airway. Meron bang dugo, ngipin na nalaglag, pustiso, foreign body. Minsan kumakain, na barelo, na aksidente. So may burger sa mouth. Yun ang mga common sa ER. Airway, breathing. Ang letter B. Merong pagtalong estudyante dati kasi Chinese yung aming professor. Ang sabi ng professor daw bleeding. Breathing yan, hindi bleeding. Okay? Okay, and then circulation. At saka ka palang mag-check ng BP. Okay. Susunod doon yung deformity, meaning may nabali ba? Saka mo na yan. So these are the priorities during trauma. Okay. And letter E will be exposure. Baka mag-hypothermia, babalutin niya yun. So you always start with the airway. Sometimes ganito naman ang formation ng questioning sa board exam. After assuring that the breathing was and the airway were clear, your next step will be circulation. Doon ka pala mag-check ng BP. Airway first, check mo kung humihinga, tatapat mo yung tenga sa bibig niya, humihinga o hindi. Pag doon pala sa airway, hindi humihinga sa letter P, intubate na agad yun. Pagka humihinga, pero mababa ang BP, you go check your circulation. Pagkatapos mong na-settle na yung breathing, airway, tsaka circulation, tsaka ka palang pupunta sa deformity, saka ka palang aayusin yung mga bali. So these are the priorities. In neurological examination, you will see uncal herniation, yung uncus ng brain, magbe-press on the oculomotor, the third cranial nerve. Kaya yung isang mata niya dilated yung pupil. Ganyan. Of course, this is not trauma. This is for examination sa fundoscopy. May gamot na pinapatap. Okay. For imaging, after your examination, always, just like anywhere else in surgery, you examine your patient first, and then you go to imaging. Hindi pwedeng imaging agad. So always, pati abdominal pain, pati chest pain, examination first, and then imaging. And then we go to the treatment. So in trauma, CT scan is done faster and anytime 24/7. That is why in trauma, plain CT scan is preferred over MRI. For strokes, etc., MRI is superior, but for trauma, cranial CT scan is superior. So how do you control intracranial pressure? Intracranial pressure means yung swelling ng brain para huwag mag-hypoxia, para ma-ventilate pa rin yung brain niya. No? So, okay, elevate yung head part ng bed, nakataas yung ulo. Osmotic therapy, mannitol, this is what we give, okay? Slowly to the patient. Ang purpose niyan is to dehydrate every cell in your body, brain included. These are the two solutions most commonly used because they pass the blood-brain barrier. Hypertonic saline, normal saline is 0.9. Hypertonic is about 5, meron ding 10. So yun ang ginagamit natin. But most of the time, you will see in the ER, 25% mannitol. Okay. And then lalagyan nyo yan ng catheter kasi talagang iihi ng iihi yan. Okay. And then lastly will be surgical decompression. By decompression for A and B, that is epidural and subdural hematoma, craniotomy, bubutas tayo sa skull, a burr hole, craniotomy, or kung talagang malala, malapit na mag-herniate, decompression by craniectomy. Tatanggalin mo yung, puputol ka ng square ng skull, tatanggalin mo siya. And the dura will be exposed. Pero itinatabi namin yon. Usually that bone is placed underneath your skin. For example, nilalagay namin yon sa ilalim ng balat sa tiyan. So that later, pagkakailangan na siyang ibalik, kinukuha namin ulit yun, babalik doon. So, hindi yun tinatapon. Okay? It is implanted, pwedeng sa may chest, pwedeng sa may taba, sa tiyan. Para magamit natin ulit. Kung talaga namang naitapon, nung minsan, emergency kasi, o kaya durog siya talaga, sometimes you put metal plates there. Alright. So, review nyo lang. These are very easy, puro pictures. Alam ko medyo difficult, foreign yet to you, but you have to memorize them. I'm sorry. I'll make sure that the exam is easy. Let's go to the neck trauma. The number one rule in neck trauma, tumagos po ba o hindi? Is it a penetrating wound or not? And the structure to determine if it is penetrating or not is the platysma. And yung drawing ng platysma, this one. Paghiwa mo ng skin, makikita mo sunod taba, tapos merong hibla-hibla na muscle, yan yun. So if the platysma is intact, you send them home. Suture lang, send them home. But if the platysma is penetrated, you have to explore that patient in the operating room. Okay. Please remember platysma. Okay. There are 3 zones of the neck. Zone 2 is the easiest to access. Kasi pag tumingala yung pasyente, makikita niyo yung mga structures madali. But for zone 1 and zone 3, access is difficult. So you're almost into the chest. So zone 3 naman, you're almost into the base of the skull. Okay. What is zone 1? Ito yung laging tinatanong, zone 1. Pakikapan niyo muna yung inyong thyroid cartilage. Here, yung Adam's apple. Go down a little, you will feel a small hole there. That's the cricothyroid membrane. Alam niyo ba sa emergency access pagka left o yung durog yung mukha, naglalagay kami ng small tube dito at dito bine-ventilate. Okay? So we put a small tube dito. Takes a lot of guts. I've done this once sa ER nung training ko. May rotation pa kami sa lung center. Buhay yung pasyente despite na basag yung mukha. Okay? So zone 1. Okay. So everything below this cartilage, cricoid cartilage, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, everything below up to the clavicles is level 1. Zone 1, I mean. Okay. From the cricoid up to the mandible here is zone 2. Yan yung very accessible. Pagka tumingala kang ganun, madaling repairin lahat. Benta sa amin yung blood vessel, parang thyroidectomy. Nakabenta yung blood vessels, nakabenta din yung trachea, airway. Okay? So, and last will be zone 3. Zone 3 will be base of the mandible to the base of the skull, which is about here, kung saan nandun yung tympanum. So, yan, mahirap ang access dyan. Many times we split the mandible just to access that area. Medyo difficult talaga. Okay. Emergency yan. Kaya may joke din dito para hindi nyo makalimutan. What is the most anterior structure in the neck? The most anterior structure in the neck is the trachea. Kaya yung mga nauso dati, yung pinupugutan ng ulo doon sa Saudi. Pag ginanon ka, mas madaling nga makahinga kasi andito yung trachea. Para kang gumawa ng tracheostomy. So, hindi totoo yun sa pelikula na pag ginanon. Kasi pagka tumingala kang ganon, tapos in-slip nung attacker, lalayo yung artery and vein. So, mas mahirap magdugo yun. So, all right. Okay, these are some examples. The one on your left here, I hope you can see my arrow, is penetration of the trachea from here. So sinaksak ng kutsilyo, papuntang ganon. These are actual patients. One of my sons is rotating in one of the hospitals in Tondo. Got Andres Bonifacio. So this was his recent picture. Patient, I mean. So this one, very accessible. You have to repair the tracheal rings. So sinusuture lang yan. That plasticky thing that you see there is the endotracheal tube. Yeah, okay, this is post-op. Okay. So dahil ang injury nito ay tracheal rings, this is zone 1. So, okay, so hard signs versus soft signs. These are signs para malaman mo kailangan pa ho bang i-CT scan? Hindi na. Ooperahan na natin yan. Okay? Hard signs meaning sure ka may injury ng airway, sure ka may injury ng blood vessels. Madali naman yun. Ano? Hemodynamic instability meaning marami nang nawalang dugo. Shock is defined as a blood pressure of 80 or less. So pag BP mo sa kanya is 70, palpatory 60, 70, that patient is in shock. Operahan na natin yan agad. Sorry doon sa nadidinig nyo kasi nasa operating room ako. May nanganganak yata. Active pulsatile. So pumupuslit yung dugo in your presence. Hindi, kanina po pumupuslit yung dugo, hindi yon. Kailangan ngayon, pagharap sa'yo, pumupuslit na ganyan dugo. O kaya, merong hematoma, may pasa dito, tapos nakita ko kanina, maliit lang yan, lumalaki. Expanding hematoma. A bruit or thrill, pagka auscultate mo rito, meron ka madidinig or may bumubula dito sa sugat, may lumalabas na hangin, obvious stridor, hindi na humakahinga dahil sa o kaya sumusuka talaga ng dugo. Obvious signs of tracheal airway or blood vessel damage. The last one is neurologic deficit. Actually, hindi nyo nga kailangan memorize. Basta may obvious damage, bumubula, may pumupulso dito, pumupuslit. Tapos wala nang parang na-stroke yung patient kasi wala nang blood supply. Pagka ganon, immediate diretso yan sa OR. Tawagin ng anesthesia friends and intubate that patient for immediate exploration of the neck. Hard signs. For soft signs, which are the following, pwede hong maghintay. At pag habang naghihintay, pwedeng pa-CT scan yan. Paano ba yung mga criteria ng soft signs? Ano? Sabi, kanina po may pumupuslit dyan eh, nung nasa scene. Hindi ngayon, kanina yon. Tapos merong pasa, parang yung pasa ay sa ilalim pa ng skin, subcutaneous. Tapos sabi medyo napapaos siya. O nahihirapan magsalita. These are soft signs and may need exploration later. Pero not as immediate as the one on your left. Okay? So pwede maghintay yan. Siyempre may lalabas dyan, marami. Okay. So this is the flow chart of management for the neck. So pag dumating, sabi ko sa inyo, anong unang titingnan? Platisma. Buo ang platisma, tahiin ang sugat, bigyan ng anti-tetanus, antibiotics, and then send them home. Pero, sir, butas po yung platisma. Mababaw ba? You will not know. So they have to be admitted for exploration if they have hard signs. Yeah. Stable patient? Opo sir, okay yung BP, etc. Nakakapagsalita, nakakahinga na maayos. Yun lang, merong tama sa leeg. Sige, pa-CT angiogram mo. CT scan nyo ng neck with an angiogram. Pero, pag unstable, walang usapan, diretso yan sa OR. Okay? Meaning, in shock yung patient. May tumutulong dugo umaagos ngayon. You just press on it and then dala na sa OR. Okay? So, of course, napaka-importante nitong flow chart. May question dyan. Okay? Okay, lastly, for chest trauma, sakto na siguro to for 30 minutes. So this will be done in 30 minutes. For chest trauma, so tapos na tayo sa ulo. I hope you can remember the slides. I put there, in all of my lectures, I put a lot of pictures, minimal words, so that the student can imagine what's happening. Okay. The same will be for chest trauma. So papakita ko kayo na mismong x-ray, mismong mga nasaksak na barel. Okay, these are the five major immediate threats, meaning nakakamatay ito. That is why the physician should be able to appreciate any of them during ER consultation, pagdating sa ER. Tension pneumothorax, tension, merong tension sa isang side. Pwede ito sa bronchoscopy, kunyari sinisilip niyo yung bronchus tapos na-tear, o kaya nag-biopsy, nabutas. So from inside, or from outside, meaning nabutas at nasaksak, tinamaan yung, usually bronchi ang tinamaan sa stab wound or gunshot. Meaning, pag huminga yung pasyente, i-ventilate nyo with a ventilator or with your ambu bag, lumalabas, pero lumalabas doon sa loob ng chest, pero hindi nakakalabas sa dito. Hindi siya na-exhale. Kaya nag-build ng tension. Let me show you the pictures, what I'm talking about. This is tension pneumothorax. Please note that on auscultation, the left chest cavity, stab wound ito, usually mga ice pick yan. O kaya kutsilyo na yung mga bayoneta. Ano bayoneta? Ano ba nabibili sa Batangas? Basta yun, yung nabibili sa Batangas. Kasi usually fine blades yun na pwedeng maka-injure. Okay. So this one, the patient is in severe agony, gasping for breath. Naghahanap yan ng hininga. Dok, mamamatay ata ako. Ganun. Sabi ko. Okay, so pwede nyo itong hindi pa x-ray. Pag inoscultate nyo, walang breath sounds at saka walang heart sounds doon sa kaliwa. Pwede sa kanan, pero wala kayong madinig na breath sounds. Pero pag auscultate sa kabila, meron. Tension pneumothorax yan. I had one such case dati in FEU Manila pa dati. I remember. Same, tinawag ako ng medical resident na duty ako noon hapon. Pagkatapos ay sabi niya, Bob, meron kaming agonal patient sa taas na hindi makahinga. Naka-intubate na pero hindi makahinga. So pag PE ko, nung ako nag-auscultate, bakit walang breath sounds? Kaliwa, I remember. So ang ginawa ko noon, sabi ko, tension pneumothorax ito. So kumuha, pengen needle, just a needle, walang syringe. Alcoholize mo anywhere except yung anywhere sa buong kaliwa. Wala, yung heart naman nasa kabila. So tumusok ka lang, I remember I punctured at the second intercostal space. Ganito yung nadinig ko. Parang gulong na naplat. Tapos buhay na yung pasyente, humihinga na siya. So pasalamat sa akin yung, I cannot forget that kasi the patient was really thankful and was able to live. So after siya ma-relieve, bago namin dalhin sa OR, yung aking needle, kinabit ko sa IV tubing. Sabi ko, ilubog mo sa planggana yung kabilang dulo. So that's sort of a thoracostomy already. Okay? And then we put a formal thoracostomy tube during OR. So it is very important that this one, kilala ng medical student. Simple lang yun. Walang heart sounds, walang breath sounds on that specific side, wherever the trauma is. So ang history niya na bronchoscopy o kaya na stab. Hindi yan gunshot. Okay. Sahin nyo na lang. Okay. These are the causes on the right. And the treatment is self-explanatory. Okay, let's go to the next one. Massive hemothorax. Usually basta lahat ito trauma. The patient suffered a trauma and then hindi na makahinga. Pag massive hemothorax, halos puno yung buong lung cavity. One side ng lungs can accommodate 2 to 3 liters of blood. So, ilan ba ang liters ang blood ng tao? For typical males, 6 or 7 liters ang blood volume. Turuan ko lang kayo. Ang computation ng blood volume is 8% of your current body weight. So, if you are 50 kilograms, 50 kilogram female, times 0.08, BLOOD. So, 8 yun, BLOOD. So, 8% of your current weight is your blood volume. Okay? So, pag 100 kilos ka, o kaya 90 kilogram male, times 0.008, 9 times 8, 72, 7.2 liters, yung mga malalaking lalaki. Okay. So this is the criterion for massive hemothorax. Siyempre, lalagyan mo na yan ng tube. You will notice that the airway is in the exact midline. The heart is where it should be, but the lung is white. Sa X-ray, dapat ay maitim ang baga. That's air. Pag maputi yung baga, dalawa yon. May tubig, fluid in short. Tubig, dugo, nana. Yan yung mga laman noon. So, massive hemothorax. So, pagka pneumothorax, if I may go back, itim siya. Pag hemothorax, puti. Tubig yan pagka maputi sa X-ray. Kita niyo yung heart, may lamang dugo. Tingnan niyo yung liver, punong-puno ng dugo. Kulay puti yung mga yan. Pero pagka puting-puti, buto yun o kaya metal. Okay. Dapat maitim. So, may maputi sa kaliwang baga, na baril o nasaksak. Lalagyan kaagad namin yan ng tube. No? So, for a thoracostomy first. And then pag lumabas, 1.5 kaagad sir ang lumabas. Bubuksan na namin yan. Ano? So, this is the definition of massive pneumothorax. Of course, lalabas yan. 1,500 on initial thoracostomy. Ostomy, please look at the spelling. Ostomy means to put a tube. Pagka sa stomach, gastrostomy. Or 200 lang ang lumabas, pero every hour, 200 o mahigit ang lumalabas. Still massive. Observe lang yung max of 4 hours. You don't have to wait for the 1,500. Of course, lalabas yan sa exam. Okay, so paglagay ng tube, sir, 1.5 kaagad nakuha ko. Or naka 800cc na po, ay 4 na oras pa. Thoracotomy na yan. Bubuksan na namin yung chest. Okay? And the typical bleeders, lumalabas sa board exam, the typical bleeders are internal mammary artery. If the stab wound is, or gunshot is here in the parasternal line. Or if it is lateral or posterior, usually intercostal artery. The intercostal artery, nerve, and vein are found under the ribs. Yan. Kunyari, ito yung ribs. Sa taas, baba. Nandito yung sa ilalim. That is why, pagka naglagay kami ng tube, nandito yung sa ibabaw pinapasok. We put a tube over the ribs. Never under the ribs. Kasi magdudugo yun. Okay? I'm sorry, I cannot entertain questions at the moment. Malapit nang matapos. Open yung pneumothorax. Ito yung mga hacking, yung mga tinaga. Yun ang typical injury niyan. Ano? So, natural. Pumapasok yung hangin. So, this requires immediate exploration. Wina-wire namin yan. Nilalagyan ng stainless steel wire or sometimes Prolene. Kakabit mo yung ribs, and then we repair the muscles and put a lot of drains. Thoracostomy drains, subcutaneous drains, so inilalagay yan. Okay? So ito yung mga tinaga. Nga pala, I remember, I had one patient na open yung pneumothorax sa lung center dati. Ano yun, naatrasan ng truck, naipit, so truck ito na wide open. Yung kasing likodan ng truck, flat kasi yun, matalas. Okay, there's a 2/3 rule para malaman kung i-explore ba agad ito. Ang 2/3 rule, ang diameter ng trachea. Ang diameter ng trachea ninyo, tingnan niyo yung little finger niyo. That is the internal diameter of your trachea. Look at your little finger. That's how anesthesiologists assess what size ng tube ang ilalagay sa throat mo, endotrachea. Okay, if the diameter is 2/3 nung sugat, yung laki ng sugat, kailangan niya ng management. So this will be a open pneumothorax. Okay, so you have 2 ways. Nung dati meron pang flutter valve dressing. 3 dressing yun na patong-patong, plastic yung likod, na pag huminga siya, lalabas yung air. Pero mas madali, lagyan mo na lang, repairin mo na lang at lagyan mo ng tube thoracostomy. Okay, so flail chest, number 4. Ang flail chest, pag huminga ka, meron kang paradoxical breathing. Pag huminga ka, dapat tataas yung chest. Pagka merong fracture ng 2 or more adjacent ribs. Tandaan nyo itong criteria. Dalawang ribs or more, pero those ribs are fractured in 2 places. Dalawang ribs minimum at fractured in 2 places. So let's look at the example. This patient has fracture of rib number. So how do you count the ribs? Ito yung number 1, yung pa-arch na ganun, that's your number 1. This is your posterior rib going anteriorly pababa. So yung nakikita nyo sa x-ray, pag itong pababa ang binibilang ninyo, that's your anterior rib. Pag itong pahalang ang binibilang nyo, that's your posterior rib sa likod. Okay, so ito ang injury ay posterior rib. Rib number 1, 2, 3. Rib number 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So ribs number 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 4 na ribs fractured in 2 places. So natin makikita dito sa gilid. Ayan, tingnan nyo yung kabila, walang fracture, buo. Dito may injury doon. Ayun, yun, basag dito, basag doon. Okay, kaya tatalasan nyo ang mata nyo. At there is pulmonary contusion. Ito yung mga nababangga ng sasakyan. Typical ito yung mga nabangga ng truck, yung mga marami kayong makikita sa reels. Haharang sa bus or sa train, nagpapakamatay. Pag sa kotse kasi ang hinarang mo, usually lower extremity pelvic fractures yung mga yun. But ito yung mga matataas na bagay. Truck ang nakabangga o kaya train. Yan ang usual. Okay, so this is how you manage these cases. Yan. Bakit ba siya hindi makahinga? Hindi dahil doon sa nabali. Pero it's one of the factors kasi lumulubog. Hindi siya makahinga because of the pulmonary contusion. Ito. May pasa yung buong lungs niya. That's why they die. Hindi sila ma-oxygenate. Anyway, we only need 1 lung to survive. So as long as the other lung is okay. Yeah. Okay, aggressive pain control. Bakit? Hindi yan hihinga kasi masakit. Kaya talagang naka-ventilator ito, continuous positive airway pressure. Tapos yung mga ribs na yun, para hindi gumagalaw, pine-plate namin yun, lalagyan ng bakal. Ito yun. Kaya puro bakal. Okay? So, yun ang ginagawa sa mga pasyenteng ganyan. I think this is the last of the deadly chest trauma. Cardiac tamponade. Pakita ko muna yung example kung bakit nagtatamponade. And this one. Usually ice pick yan. O kaya stab wound. Magagaling yung mga tumitira nito. Usually sinasaksak nila dito sa xiphoid. Mga sanay sumaksak yun. Usually pagka dyan, alam nila na handyan yung heart. Ang direksyon ng pag-stab pataas. So, I'm sorry for the term, pero ang tawag ng mga kanto boy doon, kinadyot kanya. So, ginerk pataas na ganun. So, yun ang saksak. Isa lang, tandaan nyo yung mga ganitong injury, bawal bunutin. You are not supposed to remove that impaled, na tawag yan pag nakabaon, impaled weapon. Bawal yan tanggalin. Tinatanggal lang yan sa operating room. Okay? Siyempre, paulit-ulit ako, hindi ilalabas yun sa board exam, sa inyong exam. Okay. So, all stab wounds na merong impaled organ, kunyari naman, yung isa, yung natamaan ng bareta, nalaglag. When dati may renovation yung Evergotesco, yung isang may nalaglag na bareta. I hope you know what bareta is. Yung panghukay ng mga construction workers sa lupa. Nalaglag yung bareta and then nakatumama dito sa brain hanggang sa chest, nakalabas sa abdomen. So we had one such patient, bawal yung tanggalin. So, tinatanggal lang yun habang nakabiyak. So bibiyakin na yan dyan. Immediately, these patients are brought to the operating room para tatanggalin mo yung instrumento at diretso doon. So I had one such, I remember yun doon sa arts building sa FEU sa Manila. Akala ng mga lalaki sa CR, nagbibiruan sila. Dapat kasi may mga example para mag-grasp ninyo. Tapos yung isang lalaking umiihi, sinakyan ng isang lalaki. So akala nila nagbibiruan, okay yan. Pagkatapos naglalakad na siya to the gate, palabas sa gate. Until may nagsabi sa kanya, Brad, may kutsilyo ka sa chest. Doon lang siya nagpanic. And then FEU Hospital in Manila was very near gate 2. So nakarating siya sa ER. I was at the ER. diretso inakyat namin sa operating room. So I was given instructions by my thoracic surgeon consultant to open the chest. Kaya marami akong thoracotomist dati. May kompleto kami sa gamit. Open the chest, and then as I see the heart, saka mo palang pwedeng tanggalin yung instrumento. True enough, nung pagtanggal ko, pumuslit yung dugo sa left ventricle yun, I remember. Sabi ko, sir, pumuslit dugo. Pasok mo yung daliri mo doon sa left ventricle. Tapos sinusuture ko yun habang nandun yung daliri ko sa left ventricle. And I'm happy to report that patient survived. So, kaya dapat ang kinukwento ko sa mga trainees namin, kahit hindi pa kayo nakakagawa ng ganun, aaralin nyo na siya. Because kung hindi mo siya inaral, patay yung pasyente yan. Mabuti ang inyong abang lingkod, masipag akong magbasa. Kaya kahit di ko pa nagagawa, ang iniisip ko, magagawa ako ito balang araw. And then true enough, you will use that. So, bago ko ibalik yung slide, while we are at the topic of studying, aralin nyo lahat yung mga ganun. So, sabi ko, surgeon naman ako, hindi ko kailangan ng CPR. Mali pala yun. I know my CPR. My father had a myocardial infarction sa bahay dati. I was there at home. I was able to do CPR on him, and he survived. And then nadala namin for bypass heart center. So nanay ko na CPR ko din. So, however, my mother lived only for a short while after the CPR. So yun, dapat marunong din kayo. Okay, so this is what cardiac tamponade means. Cardiac tamponade means, ang problema sa heart, may naka-envelope sa kanya na fascia o litid na sobrang rigid na hindi maka-expand. Hindi siya elastic bag, it is a rigid bag, much like yung water bottle ninyo. Ganun siya katigas ang tigas. Kaya pagka may dugo sa loob, same sa brain, ang i-compromise niya yung heart volume. Pag kaya itong black na nakikita nyo here, pagka may stab dito sa chest, anywhere in the cardiac box, hindi nakasulat dito pero lalabas ko sa exam niyo. The cardiac box is from your clavicle to your sternum, tapos middle clavicle through the nipple hanggang dito sa may xiphoid. That is your cardiac box. Again, sa top clavicle hanggang sa nipple sa lateral, sa midline ay sternum, sa ilalim ay xiphoid. That's your cardiac box. Pag may saksak anywhere in the cardiac box, you always think of a cardiac tamponade. And how do you diagnose cardiac tamponade? Beck's triad. Memorize Beck's triad. Beck's triad is when you have muffled heart sounds. Bakit sir, pagka pinakikinggan ko, parang hindi ko masyadong madinig sir yung heart sounds. Versus tandaan niyo yun, muffled lang. Versus tension yung pneumothorax, wala talagang heart sounds. Okay? Not even breath sounds. Okay? Muffled heart sounds, parang meron pero ang hirap ang hirap malaman. Pagkatapos madinig yan, sorry. Neck vein engorgement, nakalobo itong buong. Pag nakatayo kayo, the external jugular should be flat. Hindi dapat nakalobo yan. Unless you sing, makikita hindi. Pero yung external jugular, distended sa kanila. Usually 2/3 of the way. Kahit naka-recline sila, 2/3 of the way naka-distend yung neck vein. External vein yun actually. External jugular vein. And hypotension. Natural, hindi maka-expand yung heart So hindi makapag-fill up. Nakakapag-pump pero it cannot fill up. So you have hypotension. That's called Beck's triad. More often, 70 to 80% of the time, you will see only two of them. Two of the Beck's triad is already a good enough criterion for cardiac tamponade. If you have the luxury of time, 2D echo may be done. Mabilis naman yan, nasa ER lang yan, mabilis. Makikita doon, makapal, may tubig around the heart or dugo. This happened also during COVID. Ang daming nag-myocarditis from COVID itself or from the vaccine. Pareho yun, may myocarditis. Kaya lalo na sa mga bata dati, sagana yung mga cardio sa ganitong technique. So the treatment will be a pericardiostomy. Pericardium, lalagyan ng tube. So aspirate nyo muna. Pagka may dugo talaga, I was able to do several, a handful. tuturuan ko kayong, eto talaga guts lang, walang nagturo sa akin noon. Inaral ko lang sa ER and then yayabangan ko kayo ng konti. I was applauded by my department then for saving that patient. No? So I was given a bonus by my chairman. Yun. Namiss ko tuloy si boss. Patay na si boss. Anyway, this is how you do pericardiostomy. The most famous is a subxiphoid window. Ilalim na xiphoid. Kapainin niyo yung edge ng chest ninyo, makakapain niyo yung xiphoid area. Just poke a needle there. You have use a spinal needle. The biggest that you can get. The biggest that you can get in the hospital is 16 or 14. Okay? Itusok nyo doon at 45-degree angle to the table going to the left shoulder. Basta tumusok lang kayo doon. And then as you go deeper, syempre kinakabahan ako noon. First time ko. As you go deeper, naka-aspirate kayo lagi. And then a gush of blood, non-clotting blood, ma-aspirate mo. Pag ang na-aspirate mo, clotting blood, medyo mali ka doon. Kasi meaning sa heart yung na-puncture mo. That blood is clotting. So, ang positive dito is non-clotting blood. Sir, bakit hindi nagka-clot? Pareho lang naman dugo yun. Kasi because of that pumping action of the heart, nakukuha niya na yung fibrin. Okay? Believe it or not, that fibrin now is being harvested by many companies and then sold to us for an exorbitant amount. Yung fibrin glue. Ginagawa lang naman doon yung dugo mo, walang anticoagulant. Kuha ka na stirring rod na glass, stir mo lang na gano'n, may kakapit doon. And then that's called fibrin glue. So it can be used to repair skin, to repair wounds, to repair bowel, pati lungs. Ginagamit yun. Ngayon, ginagamit na rin siya sa spinal cord. But hindi lamang yun ang direksyon na pwede. You can also use a subxiphoid window directed to the right shoulder. Same. 45 degrees, 20 ml syringe, 45 degrees to the table. Hindi ganun. Hindi ganun ang tusok. Pag ganun ang tusok. Direction going to your shoulder, palalim. Basta dire-diretso lang. And then you keep on aspirating. And mabubuhay yung pasyente niya. Aspirate as much as you can. And then habang naka-subxiphoid window kayo, nakatingin kayo sa ECG lead 2. Yung sa lead 2, makikita nyo na pagka ikakapit mo yung lead 2 doon sa needle, pagka nakita mo nagbago yung lead 2, ibig sabihin noon, tinatamaan mo yung heart. Kaya kung wala naman, pwede rin naman. Basta pag na-aspirate mo, tigil na yung ladim. So, you will save lives this way. So, these are the other ways. Ngayon, kung meron kayong ultrasound guidance, ayan, kung merong ultrasound guidance doon sa pericardiostomy, which is common now, what the pediatric and adult cardiologists do, is to have an ultrasound guidance, yung 2D echocardiogram. You can puncture anywhere in the chest kasi meron ka namang visual guidance. So you can use parasternal or apical o minsan dito sa may second intercostal space. Basta kung saan makita nung 2D echocardiogram may window. Okay? I think this is the last of the slides. I'm sorry I cannot entertain questions because this is being recorded. Yung questions, ibigay nyo na doon sa son ko. Si Francis naka-monitor ngayon, recording it. And then he'll just forward it to me. This ends the lecture. Thank you very much for listening. Just to recapitulate, head, neck, and chest trauma, very easy, very few slides, just 29 slides, mostly pictures. Halos one question per slide. So, hinihingan ako ng 30 items kasi. Plus 5 for your other exams. So 35 items ang akin. So I will just take one question, maybe 1 or 2 questions per slide. And then, of course, all the topics that I lectured here will be asked of you. Okay? Thank you very much for staying. And good luck on your exam. Good afternoon.